This is my new stalker. I have been receiving weird emails from someone who posted a personal ad on Craigslist. Casual encounters. The email he sent to me are sent to an anonymous reply address that Craigslist creates when you post an ad that then forwards to my actual address. After some research, I have learned that this creep who is writing to me through this reply is someone I met briefly after I reposted to an ad I placed on Craigslist selling a house 6 years ago. Apparently, this maniac copied and saved that anonymous reply email address from my log expired ad and decided 6 years later to use that address to email me. Now he is sending me emails that appear that I have responded to his "Any ladies up and horny" ad from March 22, 2013. The most fun part of this wonderful story is that I have another stalkerish ex-boyfriend who is constantly breaking into my email and Facebook and every other account, who is now asking me questions about who this guy is and why am I replying to NSA sex ads on Craigslist. Oh, it's so great to be a woman. How I love the creeps that come out from under the rock to harass 6 years ago. Bye. I couldn't have told you this guy's name if I had a gun to my head. But he's obsessing about me. Insane. Mine isn't that special, but here it is all the same. A few years ago, my anxiety was high. I was already at a point in my life where I thought I was a little out of it. But that was amplified by a lot when I kept repeatedly hearing noises outside my window, like every single night. It just wouldn't stop. I would finally get so freaked out I would go wake up my parents and get them to look outside, but they never found anything and started to think I was crazy or just subsequently seeking attention. One morning, my grandfather discovered one of our lawn chairs beneath our bathroom window. It's pretty high up, and the bottom pine is fogged, so I'm not sure the chair even helped, but it was left there regardless. The next night, heard sounds again. Nothing the night after, however, we checked outside and discovered something had made my stomach churn. A small stepladder was sitting directly outside my window, back just enough to allow someone to sit on it but still see. On my windowsill was a bag of now cold McDonald's, which is just up the street from me. Most of the food was still on there, but still, some fucker had been watching me doing absolutely nothing of interest in my room without me knowing. For I didn't know how fucking long the cops were called. Nothing happened. I felt crazier than ever. No one was to be found, but at least we had some evidence that someone that shouldn't have been hanging around our house was at my window, watching intently through the blinds in a space between our two curtains. Heard noises the next night. Ran outside, nothing. Earlier in the night, I sewn my curtains together, which hopefully made it harder to see. Apparently, it did, because now the fucker had taken to climbing on top of our air conditioning unit, and from there climbing into our Harvey garage, can then be standing on that so that he could see above where the drapes went. And handprints and shoe prints were left on the lid above it. Also, I should mention also that there were now holes in my screen, and I heard these holes being created. He took a stick, sharpened it somehow. We found it outside my window, and was trying to stealthily break the screen bit by bit. The hole is there. The next night, I distantly heard a gravel noise by my window. There was simply no mistaking my sound as stealthy as I could. I let out a small moan he surely heard and rolled, just out of view, as I was sleeping, then pressed myself against the wall, out of view of the window. Very quietly I opened my door and crept down the hall. My heart was pounding. Normally, I knock on my parents' door, but I knew in the slightest sound would make the bastard bolt, so I quietly opened the door and sneaked in, then informed them that there was, without a single doubt, someone outside my window. They didn't mind the intrusion and got up and got dressed and formulated a plan. They crept into the back door. I ran into the bathroom to stand on the edge of our bathtub to peek out the window. Just the back door was thrown open. My parents ran outside like morons. And sure enough, they saw him. They started screaming as the man leapt off of the RV and bolted down the driveway, which was I was looking at. They screamed all sorts of horrible things, and at the top of the lungs, "You sick motherfucker! I'm going to fucking kill you, my dad! You fucking freak!" from my mom. He ended up escaping across the street, hiding behind a house, adjacent to us. The balls on this bastard. He kept peeking out at us as we stood outside, but he wanted to leave him there. The cops finally showed up, nabbed him. They were called, they came, and they searched, but they never found him. Bastard. Must have hopped a fence or some shit. Still, to this day, I hear noises outside my window, even in the dead of winter. But he's never out there. He must have just been a peeper. But he targeted me specifically, and for months until I was almost caught. What really pissed me off is that once he lost interest in me because I was too unsafe, he moved into the house down the street with 2 little girls he actually managed to get in through with their window. And their dad caught him just standing in the middle of the room watching them sleep, jacking it. I still don't think he was caught even then. All I know is that it could have been worse, but it's messed up. I trust the man in my neighborhood even less now. The man around here stated very bluntly, I've been chased home by one. I've had a guy try to jerk me into his car when I was passing him, telling him no, I didn't need a ride, and to leave me alone. All these years later, I still hear shit outside my window and freak out. It's fucked up. I turn out my lights entirely to exercise. I do my best to avoid the windows when I undress. It does scare me, even though it wasn't a huge deal. Peeper fucked up my senses of security. Targeted me for months, was almost caught, then left me alone, we think. Then moved on to the house with 2 little girls and jacked it in their room. How is he not dead, much less caught? I know someone should have at least beaten him senseless. One night, he jumped off of the RV and escaped to my parents. They went wandering up and down the street while the cops took their time getting us. Subsequently, I went and told my grandparents, an aunt who lived next door to us. My grandfather was pissed, so as I'm sitting outside, paranoid, and with a golf club in my hands, he walks by and stops right in front of me. More angry than ever I've ever seen him. He pulled his small pistol out of his pocket, just enough that I could see it, and says if he comes back, he won't get away again. I'm going to find him. Honestly, that scared me more than the creeper did. I didn't want anyone to go to jail over me. Luckily, they never found him. I was in Puerto Rico while in the Navy. I kept bumping into this one younger married guy sometimes. He was really creepy. Like I'd turn around and he'd be hiding in the shadows of the corner of the room. And I'd be like, what the fuck? So basically, at the time, I walked into a room and the other guys would crack up. And after a few days of this, I went over to the two guys hackling up a storm and had threatened to kick their asses if they didn't tell me why this creep kept, why they kept laughing at me. But turns out they weren't laughing at me, which they thought about true. They didn't laugh at me, but at the time I entered a room, but enough that I knew something was up. They said they weren't laughing they were laughing at the dude who was following me all around the surrounded spaces, and I didn't always notice it. So I was like, tell the whole story before I beat the living daylights out of all of you. Turns out the creepy guy was telling everyone how hot I was because I was a redhead, and how he was going to do me this way, and do me in that way, and how I was going to like it. Whatever I wanted to do or not. He also told them he was scoping out areas in the hangar to take me and basically make me have sex with him. Coup the freak out, since I'd caught him hiding in the shadows, and I went and made a formal complaint about him to the first class of the det who already knew what was going on. Completely terrified me. Yeah, I know. I was pissed. Yeah, I know. What pissed me off most was the one that told me until I dragged it out of them. Some of them felt the guy was all talk and too wimpy to try to grade. What if he did? So they had great laughs over it. There is a guy I met. At some time, I met my current boyfriend. Even met him in the same place, about 10 years older, and totally not my type. I talked to him when absolutely necessary altogether, maybe 2 hours of complete impersonal and polite, I don't have the guts to tell you to fuck off conversation. Well, my boyfriend and I started dating, and that other guy blows it, follows us to a club, I notice freak run to the bathroom with my girlfriend. My boyfriend talks to him, the guy starts acting like a 5-year-old, even cries when leave. About a month later, I found a creepy love letter in my mail. He had delivered it to himself. That creep had followed me to my door and found out where I live. Fast forward a year later, I no longer request the place I met him because he basically lives there, neither does my boyfriend. Apart from a new awkward, avoidable run-ins in the city, nothing until exactly a year after I started dating my boyfriend. And I got caught. I get a card in the mail delivering himself asking me out, and if nothing happened, as though we were dating. It was a whole year of no contact, and I didn't react. I moved, and this summer I started noticing the guy at the mall. First, I thought it was a coincidence, but then a shop owner I know tells me that the guy is following me and keeps hiding when mall security next time he sees the creepo. It has been all over 2 years. I don't want to work as a waitress, even though I desperately needed the money, because I know he would find me and sit there all day and night watching me. To I don't want to work anywhere near the place I met him, which is basically anywhere near the center. I don't want to go to the mall alone anymore. I don't want certain supermarkets and cafes because I know he frequents them. I don't even know this guy's last name, and he controls where I go to and where I am courteous. Even when we were moved to, I wish I could leave the city, but I can't. And even if I did, he knows both my first and last name, and I only know his first name and what he looks like. He can find me easily, and it's just going to be even easier once I finish university, since I am for a university teaching position. And they display your info on the internet. They have to, for students, he could come into my open classes or lectures. He could follow me. Again, I'm scared. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is another creepy Reddit story video that I've done. If you haven't seen my last video, you can check out the description, or you can check the end screen as well. I'll see you guys next time. Stay creepy. Bye.